What's going on, family? It's your girl Guruji Chastity, and we are back. Today I want to talk about in the midst of a storm, surviving Hurricane Ian, part number 2. Now, if you went ahead and listened to part number 1, go ahead and do that because it's informative. It really gives you a sense of what's going on in my life right now in my hurricane experience, and we're going to recap that off. We're really confirming, what I'm up to in life, what I'm creating, and how my mother wound has been impacted since my whole hurricane experience. So that's why we are here today, and that's what we're gonna talk about in the midst of a storm. Look, how many times you been in the midst of a storm, cuz, and you was like, I didn't think I was gonna make it. I know I ain't see a way, but somehow God made a way. That's what we on today. You feel me? That's what we on today. And so to just go ahead and jump right into it, I want to share how surviving Hurricane Ian has impacted my 4 areas of existence. Now, if you followed my teachings before, you know that I firmly believe and teach that there are 4 areas of existence that you need to tend to every day in order to experience life in your proper person, right? And so those 4 areas are physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and these all compound on one another. They are building blocks, right, family? So I want to share how the hurricane impacted all 4 areas of my existence. So first things first, physically relocated across the country. Now, when I lived in Florida, quick little background story, I lived in Florida for a year and a half. I am originally from Nashville, Tennessee. There came a point in time when I got my stuff together after the pandemic, and I was like, you know what, if I stay in Nashville, I'm only settling. And so I said, I've always wanted to live where it was warm year round, and I always wanted to live near the beach. California, really not a vibe for me. That's more of like a vacation spot for me. I wanted somewhere I could make my home, you know what I'm saying? And so I found my way in Fort Myers, Florida, because I saw that my homie, Brandon Summers, was out there that I knew from my yoga community back home in Nashville. Shout out to Small World Yoga, you feel me? And so I was in Fort Myers a year and a half. And I will say, I finally felt like I was finding my footing, y'all. I struggled a lot being in Florida, just not having a sense of community, not feeling like I belong to anything or to anyone. And so in terms of just my waking everyday life, that was a big struggle for me. Yes, you guys see me on here and I be moving and grooving, always tending to my work, because that's the vibe, that's the mission. I can never turn that off. But there were deep moments of, anxiety, depression, insomnia, confusion, just lackluster vibes sometimes all the way around. And so, first things first, I physically relocated across the country. Now, I gave you that backstory to say the drive from Nashville, Tennessee to Fort Myers was about 12 hours. I added 6 on top of that. But I did that once. Like, I drove from Nashville to Fort Myers once, and that was it. Y'all, after the hurricane, it was really intense. Like, we had the 3 days of the actual hurricane, so the 2 days to prep, the actual day of the hurricane, and then the week after where I had no electricity and no power in my home. At that point in time, I didn't have the means to evacuate. I didn't have the means to leave. But the moment in which I did, I got up on out of there. You know what I'm saying? And so I was with my homie who lives in Philadelphia. She lives 30 minutes outside of Center City. Her people was like, hey, we coming to get y'all. Because we thought right after Hurricane Ian, there was talk, like that week and a half later, that there was supposed to be another hurricane. And I was like, no, count me out. Come get me. Because where they do that at? Huh? Tell it to me. Well, not over here. Not over here. And so we got up on out that thing. And so we drove them 18 hours from Fort Myers, Florida to Philly. So I stayed up here about a week or 2 to finally get that reprieve. I will say that was my biggest struggle, is that being in Florida, you were literally surrounded by the physical manifestation of chaos, and then everybody is just like, all right, let's get back to normal. But you're literally around chaos. You're literally around devastation and destruction. But on the surface level, everybody is trying to operate normally. Like, I describe the situation as the whole state of, well, the whole little area that was impacted, mainly Fort Myers, every single person in Fort Myers was in a domestic violence relationship. We all got a 1-2 punch, sit your ass down type of vibe. And it's like we came outside with a black eye, busted lip, runny nose, and everybody just was like, so what you eating today? And it's like, bro, what did you just wipe off your face? Was that blood? Like, it was just like nobody wanted to have the conversation. Nobody wants to have the conversation, but everybody wants to get back to normal as quick and as fast as possible. And it's just like, that did not feel good. And so coming to Philly for that first 1 to 2 week reprieve was really for that, right? To get out of that palpable feeling of sadness. And that's really what I was experiencing. It was tactile. It was palpable. I could feel the sadness in the air. And I don't want to toot my own horn. I don't know if that has anything to do with me being an empath or doing my work. I just knew what I had felt it. And it didn't feel good. And so, boom, we came up here. We did some research, did our thing, and we realized, like, oh, snap, you know what? I don't think we're going back. And we was already kind of playing around with that, but we didn't know for sure. And it was really, it still is, but it was harder then to make decisions because everything was contingent on something else. Whether that was somebody else making a decision, hearing an answer from, my landlord, or, just trying to go with my own feelings and flows. Something was always hinging on something. And so making a clear choice for the future has been really, really hard. And so nonetheless, we take that little reprieve, we take that time, and we say, boom, we finna come out here. And so that's what we did. This last week, I'm really excited to say, this last week, we drove back to Florida, that 18-hour drive, cleaned out the rest of our apartments, got the rest of our stuff, and drove back over here, the 18-hour drive. And I am officially a resident of Philly. Currently don't have my own place, but I got something much more better than that I can't wait to share with y'all, okay? And so I was coming from being in Florida, having my own spot. That was the first time I've lived on my own and really been on my own as an adult, 30 years old, you know what I'm saying? So it was an experience to be had, but it was one that I was trying to live through for the sake of someone else. So what's going on, Miss Julia? So it was in trying to follow my mother's blueprint for me that I went about getting certain things in my life in a certain way, and we came to realize, like, that's not for you, G. One example that it's always been really important for my mom, you gotta have your own. You gotta have your own car, your own house, and if you didn't have these things, they meant something about you. And normally something negative, meaning you slacking, you lazy, you ain't got your shit together, whatever the case may be, you was lacking. Well, when I got those things, i.e. my own apartment, I was miserable in that junk. I was by myself, right? And so whereas my mother prioritizes physical achievements, I prioritize emotional investments. And so I started to realize, like, oh, that's not for me. And so that's what I was saying, that, like, yeah, up here in Philly, I don't have my own physical space, but I have a well of people, places, and things that are emotionally invested in me, and that's something I would give the world for. You know what I'm saying? And so boom, that's what we had physically I have relocated from Fort Myers, Florida, to Philly. You know what I'm saying? We out here in Philly, cuz. And I've got to see some cool stuff so far. I went to a Japanese garden. Y'all know I talk to anybody and everybody. Your boy been in church, cuz, trying to see what that's talking about. It's been amazing, just that physically relocating aspect of it. Number two, let's look at mentally, right? Staying out of habitual negative thought. And I got my notes down here, family. So staying out of habitual negative thought, I will not lie, that has been a challenge, right? Another thing that I've grown to understand as I do the work to heal my own mother wound, but help women do the same thing, is that our mother's outdoor voice, excuse me, our mother's outdoor voice becomes our indoor voice, right? Literally driving on the way up here, my mama is like on the phone, like, I'm worried. I don't want you to be a burden to nobody else. I know they're saying that they're going to help you, but people are people, and people are going to get tired of that. And so, you essentially, you should be able to take care of yourself, which are things that I don't disregard. I would kind of want that stability for myself. But there were experiences that I was coming to have that was like, well, wait a minute. Well, I'm here and I'm realizing, you know what? I don't have to act. I don't have to play a game. I don't have to prove myself in order to receive love from these people, right? But there become moments where I'm like, oh no, this is all wrong. And the same story that my mom said would slowly creep in, but it would just play out for me in a different way. I would cry or get really down and go really inward and start to say to myself, I'm not supposed to have this. This isn't my family. I genuinely do believe this, but it hits different when I'm on this side of it, when I'm on the calm, clear, cool, and collected side of it, when I'm in tune and aware and in sync, is that I personally feel like I make my life a lot harder for myself and introduce tension and stress because I want things that maybe I'm not supposed to have, which is a family. I feel like my plight or the themes of the challenges in my life have something to do with individuation, have something to do with appreciating myself and not needing to look for that outside of myself, i.e. a family to want me and to have something to belong to. I'm supposed to be belonging to myself, to the God within me. And so, the conscious or aware side of me says, yeah, that's true. I do. That is true, but the unconscious, the sometimes self-saboteur part of me will take that story and say I'm unworthy of those things, and here's why. And I could run down all of the examples of how I'm worthy or how this is never going to work because these people are never my family, and so they'll never really love me, how I want to be loved. They'll never really want me how I want to be wanted, right? And so staying out of habitual negative thought like those, I don't want to say, I have to say it has been a challenge. I've had about 3 isolating moments on the drive down here, shortly after arriving within that week, and then another time after that where I've had these single solitary breakdown moments where I'm literally in the throes of these negative thoughts, and I am totally convinced that I am unworthy, that I have no reason or no business going after a family like this, considering what I've done, considering where I'm from, and so just trying to keep myself busy has been the name of the game. Not in a negative way where I'm just doing shit, but in a positive way, making sure I'm stretching every day, making sure I'm connecting with other people, make sure I'm reading, making sure I'm crocheting. You just got to do something. When I was having these isolated moments of being in the throes, and this is what me and my homie have called it, because when you go inward and you fighting for your life and the emotions just raving, we call it the club. And the name of the club is called the throws. And you be like, you know what, big dog, I was just at the throws and they was getting down in there. And while I was sitting in that corner, you know what had hit me? So sometimes you got to go to the club to throws. Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's vital information in there. And so I be in the club to throws sometimes, and I get really hung up on the wounded healer within me. And so staying out of negative habitual thought has been a part of my mental work, as I get comfortable with this new version of life I'm now living, or this new chapter of life I'm now living. Number 3, emotionally. I need to talk about the emotional impact of this situation, because I feel like this slap though on all levels, because a lot of times in life we feel like we are separate from one another, or we can't share our story because we be playing tit for tat in terms of pain. my pain ain't as big as somebody else's because they didn't been through that. Or in real life, in terminology right now, I didn't go through any physical damage during Hurricane Ian, so I don't have no right or no space to share my experience, or I shouldn't experience as big or as deeply, because there are people who lost their lives. There are people who completely lost their houses. Everybody's story is valid. Not one demeans the other. Not one has more weight or more power over the other, right? And so, excuse me, it's just beautiful out here. Leaves just falling, and they're just different colors, and it's just really nice. That's something that's really different about being up here. And I didn't realize I maybe have missed this from Nashville, but back in Florida, when the seasons change, things just go from green to brown, dog. Just green to brown. Out here where they got regular cheese, you got fall, and so you see all of these color change, and you see the beauty of existence. And I don't know if y'all can see it in my eyes. You just kind of zone out and get lost for a moment, right? But boom, let's talk about the emotional impact. That's what we're talking about. And so in my experience, I feel like it's important to say that everybody's story has room, and it's in sharing that story that will, bridge that gap between having to play tit for tat for pain. the emotional impact of the hurricane is what did it for me. I didn't suffer nothing physically besides shitting in buckets for the week and stuff afterwards and taking whole baths. Like, outside of that, physically, I thank the Lord that I am okay. But the truth of the matter is, for everybody in existence, trauma is not the actual event itself. It is not the physical event. It is how the event reverberates inside your body. And for me, because of the trauma that I've gone through, it wasn't no shake it off, let's go, boy. It wasn't that vibe. That shit settled, and it hit different parts of myself that maybe I wasn't dealing with, maybe I wasn't ready to deal with, or maybe the parts of myself that were just sore from all of the healing that I've been through. And so I kind of talked about this in part one. One of the things as a child that I literally fantasized about was being in a world disaster like a tsunami, and was like, oh yeah, that'd be scary, but we always gonna be okay because we got my mama. And it was just in this experience realizing sometimes the unfathomable, ever-growing love that I have for my mom has failed me in some instances. It just hasn't been what I've thought it to be. But that is a theme of life that, in studying myself, I know to be true, that I am very idealistic. And it is in getting my feelings hurt and having adverse experiences that force me to experience life as it truly is, And so it was in coming face to face with certain fears that's really like, what are we gonna do? I'm literally with my homie, and neither one of us have never been through a hurricane, and it's literally like an emotional, like scene in a movie where it's like alarms going off. Your phone, you got 50 calls and texts, and you and this person trying to figure out what are y'all gonna do, and you're literally crying, all on the verge of crying. Like, I literally had to tell my homie, like, this is scary enough, I can't take you crying right now. Like, we gotta hold this together right now. Like, we gotta figure out what we want to do. We had to figure out a plan if we decided to separate. What are we gonna do then? Like, it was scary. It was stuff like that. Like, stuff like, if water gets high enough, we gotta go ahead and blow out the air masses if we just gotta float away. It's certain mindsets of putting yourself into that kind of like shakes you into like a certain level of humbleness, a certain level of awareness that it is, I don't want to say crippling, but it's very reflectatory. I don't know if that's the right word, you know what I'm saying? But the emotional impact of this situation is a lot. So then we were literally in the eye wall of a storm. We were in a storm for 4 hours. Think about being in the throes of your life and the worst day of your life, and it lasted for 4 consistent hours. When you got out of it, you wasn't just happy, jolly, go lucky back to yourself. You probably needed to take a shower a little bit. You need to sleep. You needed to eat. It was a deep level of rehabilitation that came after stuff like that. Think about, like, literally, think about the most trying physical time that has happened in your life, but just turning inward. And it was emotional. It was a lot of emotional stuff. Like, we how beautiful. It's bright as ever outside, and it's just sprinkling. Excuse me, y'all, but nature be doing something to me. But look, just imagine, right, going outside, and we were walking in debris, chaos. It smelled like swamp water in the middle of the heart of a city, and it's just like, all right, keep going. The emotional reverberation is a lot. And then peep this. You see me, family, you see me. And you know that, like, you might not be able to bank on the fact that, like, yeah, Chastity Ruji 100% ride or die by what she teach. She live everything by the book. You can't bank on that, but I bet you can bank that 50% of me live by what I tell you, live by what I share. So think about what I'm saying. If y'all know me, cousin, y'all know I'm about it. Imagine the people who don't have access to stuff like this. Imagine how they are emotionally dealing with this. The reason people of color are trapped in generational curses is because of pain and mucus, right? We eat poor food, and so it traps it in our bodies, or we don't feel good and we're living in pain because we don't have the space to process our emotions. We just in survival mode. And so I was literally, in a neighborhood, and the juxtaposition of this, when I went back the second time to go get my stuff and really come out of there, I was like, oh yeah, I needed to leave. Like, I really lived in the ghetto. I really lived in the ghetto. But while I was there, I didn't accept it as that. Because when I moved from Nashville, the area that I was working in was an all black neighborhood. But it was like it was set up this way. No, when I say ghetto, no person of color willingly creates a ghetto. It's just how the system has been set up, how things have been arranged, and we are just existing within it. And so when I manifested my new life, I just manifested what I thought I was worth at that time, right? And at that time, unconsciously, I was just worth what I was seeing. I was okay with it. I had made it normal. And not to say there ain't nothing wrong because people got to come out the ghetto. Whatever your perspective is what the perspective is. But I'm telling you, when I was there, living in there, right, versus when I took the reprieve, came to a whole new state, got out of it, it was like, oh wow, no, this is actually not quite healthy. This is an environment that's been set up to they don't care about these people. It was a food desert. You couldn't really get governmental assistance in a timely manner, i.e. meaning ambulance, police, stuff like that. Like, you see what I'm saying? And so the emotional impact of what it's like for those people in those neighborhoods is really intense. As I was leaving, I'm talking to some neighbors that like, I'm telling them like, I can't deal with this emotionally. It's too much. You can feel the sadness. I can't do it. I can't be here. Like, I gotta leave. And you hear people say like, well, I don't have nowhere else to go. Like, this is my home. Like, and that was me, bro. That was me. And unless I had a homie who was willing to like, hey, yo, my family said you can come up here with me, just off of the strength that you stuck with me through this hurricane, and like, you could have abandoned me type vibe, right? That's crazy. I forgot where I was. But that's crazy. So that was number 3, emotional. Spiritual. Wow. Spiritually, I done had so many aha moments, so many downloads just about the way that things move and shake around here. I would say I am an emotional authority solar plexus projector. Okay, so I'm used to waves. I'm like, get the raft, the water's coming, head ass boy. Like, that's me. I'm used to being emotional, right? But it's something magical about being literally, like, I feel metaphorically and emotionally all the time that I'm in a hurricane. Every other 2 weeks, every week, you'll catch me in one. Now, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not shocked. You'll catch me in one. But to physically be in one and see how it literally picked me up and brought me somewhere, or picked me up to a new revelation, or saw how it moved things physically in the world, was wild. Very wild. And so spiritually, amazing aha moments, amazing downloads. Your boy been going to church. I wouldn't say been going like this. It might be a regular thing. I don't know. But I've been twice. My homie that I'm staying with, her father is working towards his Master of Divinity. And if you guys don't know, I am God crazy. I wouldn't say religious crazy, but God crazy. I just happen to perceive it and view it a different way. But I am interested in chaplaincy, a lot of different cool things. And so being in a household where that is a center is really, really nice. And just to have the option, going to church, just a couple things that I realized. Church is the one place where you can cry and people don't make it mean nothing about you, about them, or about y'all in community together. About y'all in communion together. Cry when you by yourself or ain't nobody, or when you with your friend or your homie. They always trying to fix it. They always trying to say what's wrong. Did I do it? It's too much. But I just realized when I've been going, church is the only place where you can cry and somebody will look at you and smile. You see what I'm saying? That's a vibe. Just be here with me. Just sit next to me. Let me catch the spirit. Let it flow through my body, and we cry. And you look at me and you just look because you understand, not because you got to know. You just know. That's what I liked about church recently. So I say, y'all might keep coming get me, come back in here, because this nice. This nice. I don't mind this, right? And so let's that's them my 4 areas of existence. Let's talk about three transformative moments of this whole thing, right? Number 1, choosing what's best for me and standing on it. That one was hard, because while parts of my mother wound have been challenged throughout this experience. They have been opportunities to grow. I literally sent a text message to my mama and said, I'm not going to pretty much squander this opportunity to use my voice or to not feel ashamed for the choices that I'm making. This is what I'm doing, sis. If you want to help, cool. If not, I understand, because I'm doing something that you don't want me to do, right? Normally, I would have just been like, all right, or okay. And I would have been seething in the inside, probably doing something I didn't want to do just so I could get some help, get some assistance, right? And it don't gotta go like that. It don't have to go like that. I was just like, look, this what I want to do. Yeah. You know, a lot of times growing up, the choices that I wanted to make, I felt like, from my perspective, my parents, instead of, you know, wanting to show me how to do better, they just told me it was trash, you know. And so I sometimes get scared of sharing what I want to do, because I feel like I already know they ain't gonna like it, so let me just not. And you know, that perpetuates people-pleasing behavior, you know, because people-pleasing behavior is fearing rocking the boat for fear of getting attacked. Well, now I'm trying to best develop the mindset in me. I'ma rock this boat, and I dare you to shoot at me, cuz I dare you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we locked and loaded, ready to go. Like, you see what I'm saying? And so just choosing what's best for me and standing on it is a vibe that I haven't always had. And choosing to make a choice in the moment that felt good, which is leaving Florida, right? And not laying down on what I thought was right, which is, you know, I only been there a year and a half. You know, I still had such and such amount of time. I could stay, I can make it work. I could work and then just figure it out. That's doing what's right. But did that really feel good? And doing what's right is doing what my parents wanted me to do. I mean, at a certain point, there was a time during the actual hurricane when my mama said, please evacuate, yada, yada, yada. And instead of doing what I thought was right, which is trying to hurry up and find a way to evacuate because she didn't told me to, I had to make a tough phone call and say, hey, sis, I know you want me to leave, but I'm staying. And this is the choice that we are now in. You can support it or you can leave it, sis. You know what I'm saying? That is tough for recovering people pleasers. I don't know about you. That'd be tough. Number 2, really realizing how my mother's outside voice became my inside voice has been really, really heavy. Really, I would say really heavy in terms of like, ooh, that's hot, but not heavy. Well, both heavy emotionally, but heavy in terms of like, yeah, that's hot. You did that, big boy. You see what I'm saying? But it's really helped me see how harsh I am with myself, how much grace I can give myself, how much room there is for collaborating with myself and not seeing everything so outside of myself and so separate from me, right? I in, you know, expressing, you know, some of my sentiments and my concerns with my mother through this opportunity for me to heal what I know to be true about my own wound, right? I was able to get more insight about where she coming from, right? Or why her outdoor voice seems so loud and defensive and pointing, right, to me when I use it indoors. Or even, this was the first time that I really got to see it in real time, that something of fear that my mother verbalized externally became a story about how to live my life. That piece of information was like something I knew in theory. It was a concept. I got it. It clicked. It made sense. But I didn't really know it until I had this experience. And the knowing it is feeling it. It's being in the thick of the experience in the moment and say, oh, I see you. I see you. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't always get them opportunities. And so that's what realizing that has really given me. And then number 3, this is this one. And I'm going to expound upon this in you know, some other later videos, is that people do care. That's a vibe. People do care. Sometimes people do care. I am shocked to meet emotionally available. I am shocked. Let me reword it. I am shocked to meet an emotionally available family, meaning a mama, a daddy, a brother, and a sister. You know what I'm saying? These folks are emotionally available, and people do exist who will give you love without you having to do anything. Shocked me. Okay? And so I look forward to doing a video where I discuss the difference between growing up in an emotionally available household, an emotionally unavailable household, and now living as an adult, as I've now been displaced by Hurricane Ian, to now living in a emotionally available household. The differences are wild, family. The things I've realized are wild, and so I very much so look forward to sharing, in another vlog about that experience. But we out. Surviving Hurricane Ian Part 2. I pretty much then shared what I wanted to share, what I got wrote down, and that's really like what I'm up to in life right now, what this whole thing has looked like, where I'm at, what you can expect. And so I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you guys continue to tune in and connect with me. And so if you enjoy any of my content, but most importantly this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Come on, talk to me. Don't be shy. You know what I'm saying? Don't be shy. I gotta keep you informed. The weekly schedule for the Abundant Living Gurukul with Guruji Chastity is Wednesdays. You get wild heart videos like these where I will either have a topic or ideogram, like we just share information on Wednesdays. And then on Sunday you can expect to receive the Abundant Sermons with Guruji Chastity, where I am breaking down the spiritual Bible, which we call a Course in Miracles, and I'm taking it to you step by step. Just like in traditional church, you go to church and you catch their sermon, you can catch Abundant Sermons with Guruji Chastity, where I'm breaking down the spiritual principles and how they govern the life that you are living. Okay, last but not least, on November 20th, and let me not say last but not least, I got a couple more announcements. You don't rush out. How about that? You just chill, cuz, okay? I have a Connecting the Dots interview coming up November 20th, right? I'm gonna keep the guests a surprise, but just mark your calendar. November 20th, 4 p.m. All right, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can expect to connect with me and someone else, another woman, on how we gonna connect the dots and heal together, right? And then you can expect this every month until foreverdom. Every month until foreverdom, that on the full moon and around the new moon, around the full moon and around the new moon, you can expect to receive oracle readings from me. That is when that stuff opens up and that you can actually book those. I love to do oracle readings around the times of the full moons and the new moons, because it is a platform. It is the universe lending us energy, just like I'm lending you energy throughout the oracle readings to get what you need done, right? And so those are very potent times to reflect and connect with your inner child, right? And then let's see, family. All right, yeah, last but not least, please, 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 and I'll say it again, please, 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 please connect with me at gurujichastity.com. Download a course, give me some feedback, head to the blog, let me know what's up. It is my ultimate goal and my ultimate dream to create a spiritual university where people can have access to spiritual knowledge at their fingertips. And so I've created courses, meditations, different things for you to have access to aid you on your spiritual journey. And so them things don't really move and shake unless you bat it. So I need you to come over there, family, see what's going on, ask me questions, tell me it's whack so I can improve, or tell me it's great so we can make it even better. You see what I'm saying? Until next time, I love you. Peace out.